All right, welcome to Mrs. King's accounting class. So, I'm Stephanie King, Northwood High School, Caddo Parish. The grade level of students in this class are seniors and juniors. Content's being taught is accounting, and we're actually going to pick up what we left off on correcting journal entries. So prior to this lesson, the students have learned how to classify, analyze, and journalize transactions. So now what we're going to be working on today, we've been posting, but this happens in life, and this is a part I like about this lesson, is real life skills. Sometimes you can do everything right, but you might put something in the wrong account number, or post it to the wrong general ledger. So our goal for today is to make corrections, and I want the students to see that. Although we do everything automated, especially in QuickBooks Online, but you post and you choose the wrong chart of account, that will have an impact on your balance sheet, your profits and loss statements. And so our goal is to find our errors and make our corrections. So as we get started, as we get started for y'all today, we're going to, this is our objective. So before we get started, if somebody could answer this question, well, first we're going to explain that all transaction and to this point has been recorded correctly, because we've been doing that in our simulation, right? But however, mistakes happen. You have to learn that when you put mistakes in, you put the numbers in wrong. And one thing about accounting, because it is automated, it does a lot of it for you. You still have to have that human connectivity. Are you choosing the right account? Did you put the right numbers in? So we're going to analyze incorrect journal entries and prepare correcting entries. You're going to learn, because that's a real thing. You're going to learn that when it really does happen, you're going to be end of the month, you're going to pull your report and say, why am I out of balance in my rent expense? Why is my rent expense so high when I have a fixed amount? Well, somebody might have posted something that should have gone to your repairs expense into a rent expense. And that really does happen. I mean, you'll have your CPA say, hey, Maddie, on your sweet little business, I need you to make a correction because this is not right. Because obviously, importantly, you want to make sure you report your numbers correctly. So, and then we're going to demonstrate how to do that. So this is, before we get started, how do you think we would do that? How do you make a correction?
You double check with your source documents?
Double check your source documents. Make sure you pulled it. Good job. Maddie, how do you think we make a correction?
You can go back and check the numbers.
The numbers, that's right. But I love what you said, Savannah. Remember I told you everything is your source document. So what we're going to do is, if you would, let's go ahead and go right into chapter 4. So go ahead and sign into your Mind tab. And we're going to, I'm going to come over here to sign up. Sorry, I thought I had mine sign in. So let's sign into our Mind tab. And as you guys are signing in, let's go ahead and go to chapter 4. So if you remember, can anybody remember what did we learn yesterday? What did we learn to post yesterday?
Sales and cash.
Sales and cash. We learned to post our column totals, right? So everything's been posted. We posted our general ledger, we posted our column totals. So now we're running our end of the month reports, and we're looking, now we're going to see what everything looks like. So we're going to come into here and look at this. So now we're into this, oh, come on, step. Technology is awesome when it works. All right, come on. Why am I cannot get in here? SCP. All right. So let's go into this. So we're going to launch our course. And so while we're doing that, so our goal for today, this is our goal. This is our objective. We're going to learn how to analyze. Remember we talked about accounting. You learn to classify, analyze, you journalize. We're going to analyze correct journal entries. And then we're going to learn how to make them correct. So once we're in our Mind tab, let's go into chapter 4. We're at the end of lesson review, working papers. We all good? Look, everybody, thumbs up. We're all on the right page. Good job. Thank you. Alrighty, so this is our instructions. So we're going to journalize each correcting entry discovered during December of the current year. So this is the first one. So everybody with me on this one? Everybody has it open? Why don't you read it for me, Taylor, the very first correcting entry.
November the 15th?
Right here on Work Together.
December the 1st.
Yeah, December 1st. Do you have it, Maddie? You had read it, Maddie, please.
Discovering that a transaction for supplies bought last month was journalized and posted in error as a debit to prepaid insurance instead of supplies $75 M15.
So what does M15 stand for? That's our,
The post.
and that's our source document, right? So we saw this memorandum. So we discovered that transaction that was bought for supplies was actually accidentally posted to prepaid insurance. So before we even get started, I want you to think about it. So it should have gone to supplies, but instead it went to prepaid. And this is our journal. What's the first thing we need to do before we make this correction?
Put our date and our document number.
Let's put our date. So we're gonna go and do the current year. So we're gonna put our date. Remember, our date's always the 3 months, correct? I mean, 3 initials, December the 1st. Now, if you notice, this is the 1st. We just closed the books out for November. So when you close your books out, then you look at your report. So let's say you're at a job and your department's in charge of this, so much of this O&M of your operating budget. And you're pulling your reports and you're like, Taylor, how much time did you go out to eat for lunch? Why is this expense so high? I'm like, I didn't go out to eat for lunch that much. And you pull back and you look at your resources. So instead of going to, let's say, you can do a food expense, it should have gone to something else, maybe freight expense. Does that make sense? How you can just make those little errors? And that really does happen. So we're going to put the date. So where should it have gone to? This very first transaction, what should it have gone to? What should have been our debit? So that would make us, we need to write supplies first, right? Supplies. And again, what's our source document? And why is that important?
So you can always go back to it.
So, because what do you call that person that looks at your records and say, why did you do that? It's called the auditor. And I love auditing. Everything has to be audited. So it should have gone to supplies for how much?
$75.
$75. So that's our debit. That's where it should have gone. Now remember, if we did it correctly, our credit probably would have been our cash. So what's going to fund that? How do we think we need to back it out of? So how do we need to take out our prepaid insurance? We need to make, what's going to be our credit on this one? Prepaid insurance. Because remember, is prepaid insurance an asset? Is it an asset? Which side does it sit on?
It's an asset.
Asset. So what's the normal balance of an asset? A debit. So that's a plus. So we need to take it out of that. So we're going to type prepaid insurance. And that's going to be our credit. So you've learned, because remember how we learned to post this? So when we would go to post prepaid insurance, remember your normal balance is always your what side?
Assets.
Your increase, right? It's always your increase side. So if the prepaid insurance is an asset and it sits on the left side of the accounting equation, what's the normal balance for a prepaid insurance? Is it a debit or is it a credit? Somebody say debit?
Debit.
Debit, good job. So if we post as a credit, we're taking it out because it shouldn't be in there. Is that correct? Does that make sense though? I mean, really, does it really make sense? Not just this. So, and this is very, very common. This is one thing I used to do a lot when I worked for SWEPCO. All right, so to the next one. So what do we do there? So read the next transaction. You have it out there, Raleigh. Can you read it for me, please?
Discovered a transaction for rent expense last month was journalized and posted in an error as a debit to repair expense instead of rent expense, $916.
Thank you. So you can see how that could happen because when we start working in QuickBooks, you do a drop down, especially in your expenses, and you just select the first R. So this is really common. So in order to correct this, what do we need to put as our debit? I said, so a transaction was journal to repairs, but it should have gone to rent. So you're right, so it should have been our debit.
Rent expense.
Rent expense, good job. So we come over here. We put the first, it should have been rent expense, right? That's where it should have gone, correct? And it's going to use, remember our source document is going to be what? M16. And so it's, how much should it have been? 900. So that's where it should have gone, but instead it went to repairs, correct? So we need to back it out, repairs expense. Does that make sense how this works? And again, this is really very accurate. So at the end of the month, let's say you have your sole proprietor business, because remember, we're keeping books for a service company. And let's say Maddie has her soccer camp, her soccer service, and she realized that her CPA says, hey, Maddie, we need to make some corrections. I was looking at your reports, and this wasn't booked correctly, because we need to get this corrected. Can anybody tell me why you think it's so important that we book correctly?
So your money doesn't get lost anywhere?
Well, getting lost, or that's really one thing, because remember, there's so much of the government says, all right, business, you can expense this much of your expenses, because remember, you don't pay taxes on that. So it lowers your taxes. But also, let's pretend like Maddie posted something really bad. It made it look like she had a lot more money. And Maddie says, hey, Miss King, I want you to invest in my company. Here's my balance sheet. I'm like, oh, Maddie, you got look at your revenue. You got a high revenue stream. And when you realize, oh, that was an error. Does that make sense? And that's for companies, especially when if you're investing money in the stock market. Let's say I'm giving you guys all $1,000. Let your money grow for you. You're going to look at the stock market, and you're going to look at the economy, and you think, hey, I'm going to buy stock in Walmart because according to their balance sheet, they're making this much money. And that's really how people do that. All right, so let's go down at the very bottom. And this is our work together. You're going to do on your own next. So this is this one. Now, this is going to make you think about it. Are we good back there too, Kay? You good, baby? Kane, are you good? What we're doing? And also have for you, remember, if you're ever absent, and if you really are, like Josh is not here, I do upload a video too to help y'all catch up. There's a video to help. So on this one right here, we're going to, on this one, the very bottom, it says, it was discovered that 2 posting errors were made in the owner's drawing account. Now, this is what we worked on. The November 15 entry should have been 540, but what was it instead? This is such an easy transposition. So it should have been 540, but instead they put what? 450. They got their 5 and 4 backwards, right? And then the November 30 entry included a debit, but they put it to a credit. This is real, that's all right. That's really real life stuff. Does it make sense? So we need to make a couple corrections. This is gonna make you stop and think. So this is what they want you to do to determine. So your goal is this: determine what amount should be entered in each letter. Make sense, kind of? So now I'm gonna do this together. You're gonna do it on your own in a minute, okay? So let's do work together. So look at cell A. What should the amount for cell A should have been?
540.
How many? Okay, 540. And then should B be blank? So if it's going to be blank, it says leave it. If it's a 0, leave it blank, right? What should C be then? 540. Good job. It makes sense. All right, look at D. What should be in D? Blank. Good job. Look at E. What should E be? Should it 400? Good job. What should F be? I'm sorry? Blank. And what would G be? You would add the 2 together, right? So what would G be? 940. Saving. I want you to work on your own now. All right, so let's come over here. Well, y'all work on that. So, I think the lesson's objectives will be met, are being met. We just finished work together, and the students have an opportunity to do on their own. And what I normally do with them, they work on their own. We come back together and we check it, and then we do our extra practice with application practice. So, I really feel like what we do, and this is probably one of my favorite subjects to teach is accounting, because it's such a real life application. So the students have an opportunity to learn step by step. And then we have the simulation in our Mind Tap online. And with using the Cengage Mind Tap, it gives an opportunity to use a simulation in QuickBooks Online. So this is our lesson for today. This is a wonderful class, and thank you.